up a point that is really important. I think a lot of people they misunderstood it, which is like they focus too much on the dopamine, right? That is definitely an issue, right? Because we are porn addicts, they look at porn, and every single time they look at it, you're actually telling your brain that, oh, hey, I don't do anything. I'm not putting any effort. I'm getting rewarded by it. I'm getting rewarded by the screen, right? And it's not just the dopamine, but when you actually go through the whole of ecstasy, right, which is the
Yeah,
epinephrine, and
yeah,
noradrenaline, all that
yeah,
stuff, all the cocktail,
yeah,
and you to a point that like, oh wow, feels good. That's why you would do it to run away from things like usually stress,
yeah,
right? Or like rejection from partner or rejection from women in general, when a single, right? Uh, when rejection, specifically sexual rejection, right?
yeah.
Sexless.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up.
Hi guys, welcome back to NEFF Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today I've got GT10 with me. GT is a man who has recognized the impact of porn addiction on men's health, and he is now out there to show men that there is hope, that there is indeed help out there for you to address porn addiction and all the other direct impacts that it has on you, including the porn-induced erectile dysfunction and so many other things. So this is a show today that focuses on men's health. Yes, we men are
Yes.
out there, the lone warriors that never ask for help. And hopefully,
Mhm.
therefore, this show is so important and will plant a few seeds for people to stop and feel and think and change. So, GT, welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Oh, no, that's brilliant. And it's so bizarre because ultimately, porn is nowadays so ubiquitous. And sometimes it's probably difficult to distinguish what is porn and what is just part of life and lifestyle. What are the
Yeah.
figures nowadays? How many men and women are watching porn? Are there figures out there?
There's a lot of figures out there, right? I think it just based on the viewers, right? If you were to look at the amount of actually we can look at live figures. Based on what I'm seeing right now, there's millions of views daily.
Sure. No surprise there.
Yeah, that's millions, not just millions, but probably hundred of millions, right? If you
Absolutely.
will go look at the ranking, right? Except Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, the typical ones, right? In terms of the top ranking sites, the next one, they're porn,
Ha
all on the
ha ha
top
ha.
20, top 10 sites. So
Interesting.
unfortunately,
Pornhub
yeah.
still up there?
Oh,
Which is intriguing. Pornhub, essentially, women have had enough, and there were some very powerful warriors, female warriors, who went out there and really went onto Pornhub and
mhm.
forced them to take down a huge amount. I think 80-90% of their content was taken down a while ago due to infringement, basically revenge porn and porn that was exploitative. And there were some huge wins as regards to the women's rights were concerned there. And I found that amazing. You would have expected that sites like Pornhub, etc., take a big hit with that, but obviously the human the human mind is fickle and porn
Yeah,
is so easily available. It's
yeah.
free wherever you look, isn't it? None of there are millions of videos out there if you look at it in total, and a constant new production is happening. It's just crazy.
So there is a figure actually. I'm just gonna quote it based on memory. I
Yeah.
couldn't find it, right? I was trying to look for it. That's the reason you hear the sound. Excuse that.
It's good I don't hear the sound. It's good.
There was actually a article by Vice,
Mm.
right, about porn addiction, right? So and then there's actually I found it here. I also send it to you too, so that at least you have the specific link.
Oh, very
Sometimes
good. Thank you,
Yeah.
brother.
But in here, as you can see, just so that we actually have some data, right? The unique visits is 2.3 billion Americans per month.
Keeping in mind that there are 230 million or 250 million
Mhm.
Americans,
Mhm.
and everyone is watching porn. There are a
No.
lot of people who go multiple times.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
Just about like that, like even views, that how consistent it is, and there's a crude approximation, less of them, men are jerking off, each of whom like ejaculate approximately a tablespoon worth of semen. It's enough to like fill up Olympic size swimming pool every 3 days. Just think about that. That is disgusting.
but then again, oh Christ, it's so hard. It's so hard, really. Pun intended here.
Yeah.
The porn is a release, and we know from a functional medicine point of view,
Yeah.
releasing an is a wave of joy, of dopamine running through you. Thereafter,
Yeah.
you're nice and tired, and you
Yeah.
have probably a better night's sleep. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's of you either masturbating or indeed having sex in the
Yeah.
evening is a healthy thing. And
Yeah.
not everyone is married or has a
Yeah.
steady relationship.
Yeah.
So are there is good sides to porn when you look at it from that point of view?
That's a good question. They are good sides of porn as long as it doesn't actually affect how you feel about the act, number
Hmm.
one.
Hmm.
Number two, like, and you are not like replacing, real with porn. But unfortunately, how available,
Yeah.
while there might be a good side to this, to a temporary release, because of available porn are, and also how unrealistic these um creatives
I
local
know.
now,
Yeah.
right? It like how we to sex, and like because they are essentially, it's a reality how we think. Because unfortunately, you
Mm.
know what average age of like exposure to porn?
What's a teenager? Early teenagers?
Like actually a little bit, but like I think it's become younger and younger, up to like 6 years old.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay.
I know. And then because it's available, right? It's available in like um content,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of
True.
social media and content. They're not, I mean, let's say, right? They're actually softcore porn, right? Not really like just for anymore, right?
Yeah.
And because that, a lot of these like sip through the cracks of like, oh, we're protecting,
Mm.
like viewers. A lot of
Mm.
these underage viewers, kids, they're actually
Mm.
better than the parents of using the iPad
Mm.
and laptop,
Mm.
right? And a lot more just technological savvy. And
Sure.
because of that,
Mm.
it's only that, like, times it's hard to safeguard some of these devices from
Absolutely.
their friends.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
but yeah, look, you need to go this far. If you were to compare music videos, let's say from the 80s, 90s, when a young man, they
Oh,
are a million miles different from nowadays. Pussy power and,
yeah.
the lyrics in their
Yeah.
right, plus what's the word, exhibitionist
Yeah.
out
It's
there.
like sexual positivity, the quote unquote
Exactly.
sexual positivity
Yeah,
is actually to a point that is just like we have a song, literally, like you said, like literally called ass pussy. Like, wait, what?
exactly. Exactly.
I know. Yeah,
So it is in our society.
it
And
is.
it is, I mean, there are a lot of voices that are saying that because of this normalization, we also see a degradation of women and therefore maybe them seeing as more property. And therefore, maybe a rise of the incidence of sexual assaults and of that are linked with that. I'm not so sure. I find figures there because I actually went back to look at rape statistics over time, and certainly in Germany. I thought, hang on, the American statistics, 1 in 3 women in their sexually abused and raped. Hell, that's a amount. When
Mhm.
I had the perception that this was not the case in Germany, etc. And it turns
Mhm.
out that unfortunately there are a lot of violence towards women, and it has been there over time. You've got now the confusion of more easily women coming and actually reporting it. So it's
Yeah.
also confusing to actually to out what are the really flow-on effects. Do we have
Yeah.
data that really proves that an increased consumption of porn has direct impacts on way women are treated in our society? Is there anything like that
Well,
out there?
there might be. I have actually honestly have not looked into that data
Mm,
specifically, right?
right.
Because work with like couples, right?
Mm,
Who are out to us for help, but we mostly focus on helping the men rather than the woman, and hence that's
yeah.
why look into the data on that.
Yeah. No,
But
that's
I
cool.
would say like it changed the way that we relate to our partners, right? And if is listening right now has a partner, it makes it hard, for you even just be present with your partner, right? And a certain level of like, of course, as well, just because of the content. But unfortunately, a lot of the misconception, a lot of men, they're also
Mm,
afraid of admitting they actually watch porn or have addiction to pornography. It's because of the misconception of like anyone who's addicted to porn are seen as violent,
right, right.
right? Yeah. Us as like, oh yeah, you just don't even have any at all in life, right? Or you all you like, stuck basement of your parents and then like your 30s or even 40s, right? And
Mm,
then like all you do is
mm,
just watch porn and play video games. So
mm,
there's that image of like, oh yeah, the addict. But I think that's also it's very important to be aware that that's actually not the real image of a porn addict.
mm,
A lot of the porn addicts that we work with, they actually have regular jobs. They are plumber, they are your police officers, right?
mm,
They're your doctors, actually. Some of them, and
mm,
even well-respected men
mm,
in the world
mm,
out there.
mm,
Some of them are public speakers, some
mm,
are even podcast, host, so many other men out there, they actually would. It's so easy to use like your success to cover up some of the things that you do behind
mm.
doors when no one is watching. Is that sense?
It makes a hell of a lot of sense. And I think
Yeah.
it just shows that porn addiction is like any other addiction. It really permeates all the strata of society. It has
Yes.
no respect for skin color or for religious
No.
beliefs. No, you're
No.
so right. I 100% agree with you there.
Yeah.
And
It's
because
not.
it's
It's not a discrimination. So.
true, true, which
Yeah.
nowadays find really good. There's no discrimination, but unfortunately, when it comes to addictions, But the problem with addictions is that we are basically trying to escape our reality.
Yeah.
And there's often insecurities hiding in us. There's often trauma hiding in us
Yes.
that were to us often at a young age without us really appreciating how this impact is now again permeating through the rest of our lives and make us shy away from maybe seeking a meaningful relationship. If your
Yeah.
main coping mechanism to fear avoidance, which
Yeah.
is huge in our society.
Yeah.
And you're now shying away from seeking a meaningful relationship or in a relationship, stating to your partner clearly what your own needs are and that
Mhm.
those needs are not being met. If you
Yep.
shy away from that, and that is a
Hmm.
huge thing, and no surprise that it is much easier to seek the sexual release and the dopamine rush through a quick act of 5 or 10 minutes, and
Yep.
then you're done and dusted. It's much than actually having the hard discussion. Do you
Yep.
find that at the core of many of our problems?
Well, I think it's one of the cores, right, of many of the problems, right? It's
Mm,
like usually like any other addiction, but really with porn addiction, because it's so closely tied to our sexual
mm,
pleasure and also sexual need, which is also tied to our need of procreation.
mm.
That's why it's harder, compared to addiction, right? It's easier to hide, right?
Right.
Compared to alcohol, right? Or any other, I would say, substance abuse addiction.
Mm,
Yeah. So, and any is just like a symptom, something deeper that we are not addressing, in life, right? It could be running away from things,
mm,
or it could be using the pleasure to um to ourselves,
Mm.
in a way, right? And I think a point that is really important. I think a lot of people they misunderstood it, which is like they focus too much on the dopamine, right? That is definitely an issue, right? Because we are porn addicts, they look at porn, and every single time they look at it, you're actually telling your brain that, oh, hey, I don't do anything. I'm not putting any effort. I'm getting rewarded by it. I'm getting rewarded by the screen, right? And it's not just the dopamine, but when you actually go through the whole of ecstasy, right, which is the
Yeah,
epinephrine, and
yeah,
noradrenaline, all that
yeah,
stuff, all the cocktail,
yeah.
and you to a point that like, oh wow, feels good. That's why you would do it to run away from things like usually stress, right? Or like rejection
Yeah.
from partner, or rejection from women in general, when a single, right? Uh, when a rejection, specifically sexual rejection, right?
Yeah.
Sexless, a lot of men, who are less than like 10 times. I think that's the WHO, the World Health Organization definition of sexless marriage is like any marriages have like less than time sex in a year's time,
Mm.
right? Which is less than once a month, right?
Mm.
So that is often like what men the cope. Oh well, since I'm not having sex, might as well. At least I'm not cheating, right?
Mm.
Rather than facing the wife, actually try to work with the wife directly to
Mm.
work through the process,
Okay.
work through the problem, to address it, or to also even set the right standard. Hey, you know what? This is my need with their wife, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, a hell of a lot. And I was going quiet here and reflecting on what you have said. And there is so much there that is hard to swallow. The sexless definition, for example, I was not aware of that. And I bet you that there are quite a few men out there who are just focusing on their sort of daily business is not going great. These are funny times in the economy. They are trying to be there as fathers. They're trying to be there in every other way. And
Yeah.
I bet you that their sexuality, their physical intimacy with their partner
Yeah.
has taken a huge hit over the years. There's so
Yeah.
many men that I think about where I could virtually put money on the table and say, yes, I bet you that this is the case. But definitely, this is
Yeah.
not something they might even be aware of. For
Yeah.
them to come to that point, there
Oh
is a
yeah.
slow decline, isn't it? There's suddenly something that happens and suddenly that you're aware of.
Yeah. Well, typically like you know, with like that really compatible from with, I think a lot of men and women also, rush into marriage, right? Prematurely.
Yeah.
And then of it is that like they might be compatible at
Hmm.
first. After having a kid, that changes a lot of things.
So true.
For those fathers out there, right, who actually have, even though I'm not a father myself, but I have worked with a lot of fathers who struggle with this. And chances are, that usually happen, with marriage problem, right? Maybe after like, right? Because
Hmm.
after that, usually the adjustment period, right? Between the symptoms of the intimacy or whatnot. And some guys will even like, do it um maybe it was good, but like when they'll have a hard labor,
Hmm.
have a traumatic labor. And sometimes, it also could um re- contribute to like the intimacy, right? And and the wife are not like really taking of the trauma, right? Proactively, and it makes it hard for the husband too to even like express it, if for her, for them to really like have or to be
Hmm.
intimate. I'm actually one of my um clients who I struggle with, right? With the partner, and it's of a trauma. So
Wow. And
yeah.
indeed, this is part and parcel. I mean, it's how multifactorial this problem is. It's not just the man who is, look, you pervert, you're watching porn. That's such
Yeah.
an easy way out. when you
Yeah.
look at the reason why men are behaving in this way, and women for that matter, okay? This isn't
Oh
just
yeah.
men. I mean, this you are focusing on men in its own right. I mean, what statistic for women? There must be at least, I would say, 10 to 20% of women who are watching porn and
Mm.
maybe watching more porn than this for crying out loud, where interfere with their own sexuality.
Yeah, yeah. As it affected it, right?
Hmm.
It's a frequency, right?
Hmm.
Everyone has their own definition of what healthy sex is for them, healthy
Right.
sexuality is for them. So that's a reason that we never really like while the frequency of viewing porn and acting out with it could also be a good measurement for someone who is acting out.
Yeah.
However, that really define whether you actually have addiction or not,
Yeah.
right? Not have guys, who to us when they only act out once a year, but it
Ah,
bothers them.
I hear you. Okay.
But of course, there are a lot of men, they do it. Like I think the more frequent one is, more common one is the weekly, once a week or once every 2 weeks. That's the more common one. And when it's not about whether they do it or not, it's about you do it when you don't really want to do it, but you're still doing it.
No, that I'll
That is
take.
the
That
definition of
is
addiction.
not doing something that is potentially or really detrimental to your life, and you know it
Yeah,
of that, you still continue doing it. And I think that is a good definition in
yeah,
general terms of addiction. Oh, I
yeah,
like that a lot. No, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Wow. But I mean, if men out there who are feeling like that, where indeed shame and guilt about the act of masturbation and watching porn
yeah,
is concerned, let's go one step back. Are these men worried about or about masturbating to porn?
yeah. It is about masturbating towards porn and also masturbating towards fantasy. That is
Hmm.
not right, because face it, right? Any man who actually also have um fantasy, about
Hmm.
whatnot, they've also probably fantasized about, with a woman
Hmm.
they met or maybe even like a potential, partner pursuing,
Hmm.
right? They actually don't have a chance with them. Does it make sense?
Yes and no. Um, I would that most men, I would say, I don't believe even the Pope has not had fantasies.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's take as a given, and there's nothing wrong
sure.
with that. Your brain, your whole species is designed to procreate, to sustain itself. So it's actually a
Sure.
survival mechanism of our species that
It
we
is.
are towards sex and towards offspring
Sure.
and
Sure.
assuring the tribes on the flow to continue. So
Hmm.
let's take this as granted. So therefore, if everyone has got these fantasies, why are there some men feeling guilty about those fantasies? Can that be a negative thing?
Well, the negative effect, it doesn't come from the fantasy in itself, but more like they actually it
Yeah.
in a frequent way to the point that like
Mm.
they in the reality.
Yeah.
So
100%. Yeah.
that's what
Okay.
I meant. That's what I meant
Right.
by that, because
Absolutely.
stay stuck in the fantasy. They
Yeah.
keep thinking they have a chance with a specific woman.
Yeah.
Maybe like it's like with a celebrity, right? Or like with like a woman in a community, and then
Yeah.
when that woman is either already married
Yeah.
or because of they present themselves, they actually know that they actually have no chance with actually being intimate with them. That's where it becomes a problem
Hmm.
because the way that they would actually act around that person is going to be very different because when you have too much fantasy about a person, right?
Hmm.
How are you going to actually act like you're not act normal
Hmm.
around that person?
Hmm.
Does it make sense?
Absolutely. No, that's
Yeah.
fine. I'm trying to distinguish here what is really the core or the multiple roots of the problem, because there might be, on the one hand, religious upbringing, religious
Yes.
beliefs that
Yes.
filter in there,
Yeah.
and that
Absolutely.
might be more so for the women. don't even
Mm-hmm.
think about sex, you slut. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah,
get before marriage and all those kind of things. This
yeah.
might be upbringing, this might be religious beliefs, this might be the physical
Agree.
that you have mentioned, previous indeed sexual or
Yep,
sexual
yep,
violence has been there
yep,
in the past that
yep.
impacts us. So that are all things that then can in some way create an abstract core belief up there that may or typically is not true, but impacts us how we continue.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
agree. I
so
agree.
it's really, really hard to tease apart. Where do you actually
Oh, it's
start?
absolutely, yeah. It's hard. It's defined that. But one of the easiest thing to do is to really you gotta be honest with yourself.
Hmm,
Do you see yourself, let's say, like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Doesn't matter what age you are. You could
hmm,
be like 18-year-old. You could be, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or even
hmm.
50s, right? Do you still see yourself acting out, and does that actually add value to your life anymore? If it doesn't
Right.
add value to your life,
Yeah.
right? And there's probably a part of you would rather not do it.
I
And
see.
if you try to,
Hmm,
abstain from it and
hmm,
you couldn't help but to keep going back to it, it means that there's something missing
hmm.
in your life that you're still using that to fill up the void. It goes back to that, right? Like I'm
Beautiful.
not anti-porn per se or
Hmm,
anti actually we promote sexuality
hmm,
in actual like healthy way, in a
hmm,
balanced way that is real genuine intimacy,
hmm.
right?
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with like two consenting, men and women, right? Fantasizing about each other, let's say like they're miles apart, they're traveling, whatever the case is. But that is real because that they have a real relationship.
Absolutely.
They have real intimacy. It's not
Absolutely.
like something is one-sided when
Yeah.
deeply inside the man, inside chance of actually dating the OnlyFans model that you are subscribed to. Like, you know what I mean? Like we also a sim economy when you see men literally donating, no, seriously, millions to OnlyFans creators.
Touche. Touche.
It's up to billions, right? You know how much like OnlyFans revenue within the last year?
No.
6.6 billion. No, and that's only 15,
Christ.
20%. I don't know what the cut is
Yeah.
of the cut. The creators make the 75, 80% of the cut. So think about that. That's the amount of financial energy that man has put into for something they have no chance.
Okay, I was after that, and I didn't even consider OnlyFans from that angle, but that, of course, says a lot. This
Yeah.
is
Well,
us
because the
by,
majority of OnlyFans creators are
yeah,
porn.
sure. Oh, true, 90%.
Yeah.
The intriguing. I
Mm.
need to go back though in time. Now, men spent time on prostitutes, time and money on
Sure.
prostitutes
Sure.
in the past.
Sure.
And
Sure.
after all, prostitution has been one of the oldest business in the
Absolutely.
world.
Is.
So I think the one big difference is that it is now so much easier available. You don't actually have to leave the house. You don't actually have to go into maybe a seedy and maybe dangerous part of the city in order to make it here.
Yeah.
It's all delivered for free, or should you wish to do so, you can pay for the extra service. My goodness. Yeah, I never really thought of it like that. My goodness. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And that one is even more dangerous, addiction. OnlyFans is actually separate from just porn addiction because,
How?
well, because it's transactional now. And then they actually feel sort of emotional connection with these creators. Wow, a lot of times they're not even chatting with the actual creator themselves because what I'm gonna do? They could use AI, right,
Sure.
to chat, right?
True.
Essentially robots, right? Or just like farm it out somewhere in India or Nigeria or like Philippines. It'd be a dude like literally like following script, chatting with them.
Oh dear me. Oh God.
I know, but that's the truth. That's a reality.
Oh, GT, I mean, I'm really that side of sexuality and never
Mhm.
explored social those kind of interactions. But
Yeah,
I can very much the reality of that, how it really
yeah,
pans out.
yeah. And
Wow.
because at the end of the day, it goes back to like the if where energy flows, you just look at follow the money,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Well, that's a nice way of bypassing the me. No, I don't do porn. Yeah, right. Is the best thing.
Yep,
Show me
yep,
me your
exactly.
card statement. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't do porn, right? You know, or they out with something like with someone who they're naturally not really attracted to, right? You know, with like trans, right? You know, they actually get like really extreme stuff because they've got to a point where they
Oh,
weaken their neural connections of the prefrontal cortex.
indeed.
They got to a point that like regular normal stimuli
Yeah,
no feels normal, no longer feels the high.
I
So
hear
in
you.
order for them to trigger the other parts of it, they have to do something like that is against their own morality or even their own natural sexual orientation.
Sure.
And now we have this whole wokeism going on. It makes it even harder. Like, what is real? What is natural? What is not? Right? And then you see here so many different things and
Hmm.
different gender being normalized, right?
Sure.
And to the point now, like I'm not like those
Mm,
who try to actually feel that way, right? And then they want to be a transgender individual. That's
mm,
on them, right?
mm,
But I'm talking to like heterosexual men who
mm,
have zero desire of dating and sleeping with men or even individual.
mm.
And because of the overly exposed to pornography use,
Wow.
they become addicted. They become like pretty much like different person version of themselves. They don't
Absolutely.
even respect. You know what I mean? And I have a client, who acted his uh, fiance for well close to about 10 years, close to a decade. And the only time that he actually seriously got help is when he got HIV
Oh God.
from a man,
Oh.
right? When he's heterosexual, you see? And from
Oh
the
my
outside, no
goodness.
one knows. No
Sure.
one knew what happened. No one knew what's the real issue. No one would have known if he didn't get HIV and admitted that he needed. It was so easy to hide. He became really hiding actually, right? Porn addicts become addicts in general become very very good about their addiction and lying, right? And unless you actually have someone who have experience in it,
Hmm.
it's so hard to see through the lies.
Oh, absolutely. But
Yeah.
then again, maybe that's our superpower. You can't bullshit a bullshitter. And we know all the good places to hide the alcohol when we're an alcoholic.
Exactly.
We know all the good
Exactly.
places and the
Well, we've been
reality.
there before. That's the reason we're
Yeah,
able to actually call them out, right?
yeah.
So,
But also understand them and
yeah,
see at which
and accept
stage.
them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is so important, that the radical compassion, because that all has been a journey that started somewhere a long time ago and
Yeah.
has now led to this point. But as with every addiction, there is help and there is
Yeah.
hope out there. And I think that's so important.
There is.
And that is your key message, that
Yep.
wherever you are in your journey, which
It
it doesn't
is.
stop here right now. No, this is only the start of your new journey. And
Yep.
hopefully by us today, honestly, about porn addiction, that there is a clear message. Hang on. There, yes, many men are in trouble because of that, and maybe sabotage their own masculinity. Because here
Yep.
you are, if you feel that you're a worthless piece of shit, and you that maybe dominance, that
Yep.
masculinity, that is often part of a sexual
Mhm.
relationship. There's
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with one partner being more dominant and more active, whilst the
Oh,
other partner being more feminine. And I say
there is
partner here.
necessary actually in
What?
any long term you want connection to last, right? There has to be a complementary part,
Yeah.
right? They have to complement each other, right? You cannot like just have like masculine or feminine energy. It's
Mm,
only for so long because you get
exactly.
bored with it, right? Essentially, you don't want to date yourself, right? For example.
That's true.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
definitely
and
not.
unfortunately, a lot of men they get bought into like, oh yeah, like just my feminine energy. While yes, every one of us have
Yeah,
both masculine energy. There's nothing wrong with that. But while being nice, it's important just as a common courtesy, but it doesn't mean that you don't want to have backbone
absolutely.
as a man. And
Absolutely.
like that's having balls,
Mm,
essentially,
exactly.
right? You know?
And that's important that there is a lot to be said about toxic masculinity, about white privilege. I mean, in my white middle-aged man,
Yeah.
who am I to say anything kind of a thing in the woke liberal kind of leftish point of view.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
can, in its own right, if you live in such a society, let's say California or some other states in the United States where this is maybe more pronounced, it can
Yep.
be quite hard to find your role as a masculine being. And
Yeah.
masculinity, if we just want to move away from any gender stuff here and call that leadership,
Yes.
you want to be a leader in your life. You want to you show authenticity, integrity,
Yep.
humility when it is appropriate, but you still are
Yep.
a leader by leading by example. So you're taking action. So that is
And
the
congruency.
indeed, indeed. They're
Yeah.
all leadership qualities
Yep.
that many of us strive towards when it comes into our business.
Hmm.
Yet there is this confusion in the bedroom. And it really
Yep.
shouldn't be there because we are not,
No.
we are the needs of our company, the needs of our employees, etc. There
Yeah.
are there are metrics when it comes to
Yep.
your own needs, the need
Yep.
of being held, of providing comfort to someone else,
Hmm.
all those beautiful things that are part and parcel of intimacy. We are
Hmm.
often getting confused, and
Yep.
we don't have a mission statement when it comes to the bedroom. We don't
Yep.
have a needs assessment, a risk
Yep.
assessment of a
Risk
bedroom.
assessment. Oh, and absolutely, you need that as a man, and that's something that we do teach as well, and we actually help them to really define their reboot, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason that we use the word reboot rather than recovery,
Hmm.
because most men
Ooh.
they never really live a life without this addictive behavior.
Ooh. Ooh, I like that.
You know what I
Like,
mean? Yeah. That's why you need like our the mission right now, of our company, I know you've also interviewed founder and head coach JK, right? Of the porn reboot
uh,
system. Is to make porn reboot like it's not a big deal. Like, oh hey, I'm just go do a porn
uh,
reboot, right? I like but fast, essentially ways, right?
isn't it?
Yeah, it is to really mind reset your biology because it's very biochemical too, right?
Yeah.
The making it like uh porn addicts for extreme level that they need like more something more extreme. What that is? It's essentially like the delta phos B, protein in
Yeah.
our it accumulate to the point that it reaches a certain level of like tolerance.
Ah, okay.
Like so do, right? It's
Yeah.
not just dopamine, it's not just size,
Yeah.
all that. And very emotional as well, you know.
Beautiful. And that fasting is a really, really good analogy because we really need to sort of recalibrate our brain. It's like a thermostat that needs to be reset, but it takes time.
It does.
And I mean, we know for you look at obesity, and we have got thermostats there for obesity.
Yep.
I've been for a time a big man, and my thermostat is set to recalibrate towards that. So I want to be, well, not me, I don't want to be, but my brain tells me, hang on, you have lost 30 kilogram. Are you nuts? If you keep going like that, you die. You need to go back up
Yep.
to whatever I was, 140 kilogram. And so,
Homeostasis.
exactly. So, and that can
Yeah.
take up to 5 years in the
Yep.
sense of obesity. What
Yep.
are the time frames that you experience when it comes to pornography? How can you reset thermostat? And how
Yep.
can we calm down? I don't know how quick FOSB can be washed out of our brain. How do we do that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah. So in terms of like the chemical portion of it, right? I honestly don't know. I'm not a doctor,
Uh,
right? But I would say in terms of like where we see action and the behavior of a
yeah,
man living a rebooted life, which
yeah,
is like where it becomes more of a maintenance stage. We call it a reboot maintenance stage. It does take about on average about a year and a half to 2 years of them
exactly.
following a proven system,
Nice,
following a proven system, right?
nice, nice.
And they have the habits, they have to change their lifestyle, right?
Exactly.
The self-image from within. That's
Absolutely.
what we mean by rewiring. The rewiring portion of it, there's so many different facets of it, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not something that you can just understand,
Mm.
over like even this one episode, right?
Yeah,
Of podcast,
percent agreed.
everyone has different of like reality of
Yeah.
ourselves and a lot of unconscious biases
Oh,
that
so
you need
true.
to address to
Yeah,
and understand what is your own bias, right?
exactly.
So that you need someone, like us to become essentially be a mirror to yourself
Yep.
and make sure that you are actually not selling yourself short
Mm.
for how you really want to live your life. What is a congruent life for you? What is a congruent relationship for you? What is a fulfilling relationship for you? What does intimacy mean for you?
Exactly.
Right? What kind of relationship should you get into? Are you actually ready to settle down? Or do you actually need to discover? What is that?
Beautifully said. Oh, it's so beautifully said. Because yeah, this is the reality. Having such reboots, we see many times in our lives without us wanting to. But for example, if there is a death in the family, grief often lasts for a
Yep.
similar amount of time. I've just
Yep.
gone through a divorce, and again, it's only now that probably a year and a half that I'm
Mhm.
slowly coming out of this loss, this feeling grieving for the living kind of a thing. And
Yeah.
our brain takes time. And in our
Yeah.
society, which is so focused on immediate satisfaction, like porn,
Yep.
immediate
Yep.
availability, immediate actioning, and
Yep.
immediate, that's it, bingo. Uh,
Yep.
it's to your whole life because that's what it is essentially. We often
It is.
enough, the porn is maybe the tip of the iceberg. Have you really looked after your sleep? Probably not.
Yep. Yep.
How's your nutrition like? Probably
Yep.
shit. Have what exercise habits? Yeah, which
Mhm.
exercise? Exactly.
Yep.
So it is, there is a that we need
Yep.
to address, which makes you a lifestyle which sets a healthy foundation for you
Yep.
to become the leader in your own life, the
Yeah.
leader subsequently in the bedroom.
Yep.
And you may, as a leader, give the power of your partner. You don't have to
Yep.
be the alpha in the bed all
No.
the time. No,
Not necessarily, yeah. But
exactly.
you can
So
lead your partner to, enjoy and lead the charge of a way that you want to enjoy that physical intimacy as well.
exactly.
Absolutely. And it's a dance. Like have fun with it,
Well, exactly.
right? Have fun with it. But that's why like any parts of lifestyle change,
Yeah.
I think some men take it way too seriously too, right? To the point, like oftentimes they don't take it seriously enough. But there's also another side of it is that, we take things too seriously.
Yeah.
So there's this counter and the
I
balance you
see
have to
what you
make.
mean. Performance anxiety in this particular
Yep.
sense. Oh, true.
Yep.
Oh, and that's so common, isn't it? Especially
Yep.
when self-doubt eats you up from the inside, especially
Yep.
when things are maybe different because you realize that all the porn you have watched, these dudes, they look a certain way and you probably don't
Yeah.
look that way. And
Yep.
most certainly will not have the size appendages that these dudes are running around with. And it's
Mhm.
so crazy. So
Yeah.
many, and because it is so common, pornography, we think that we get a skewed image, nearly like body dysmorphism, when which is happening so in our head, when in reality, most women would run a mile if someone swings a club like that in front of them. The average size penis is what, 4 inches? And that's average, you know, and the women adapted to that. There are most women are the same size. So if something is really, really big or looks really, really weird, it's, you know, it's you should think is normal. So we need to not just recalibrate our own lives, but also our reality, our understanding what in real life as far as
Yep.
women and men are concerned.
Yep.
Stop bullshitting, in other words. Stop, you know, the fisherman stories. Fish is about this big. Stop it, for Christ's sake. Be honest about the size of your fish. Be honest. Yeah. Stop showing off.
Well, and also the fish you want, right? I think some also delusional as well, of like what because of like how other women view them,
Right.
So oftentimes say that that's what they want, but they don't really, mean what they say.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So thing of porn and also with like this social wow it's changed the
Yeah.
whole entire dating realm and
Yeah.
also how intimacy really works too. So and that's why men have to adapt and adjust
Yeah.
based on the technology, right?
Yeah.
While yes like we want to actually understand how porn actually affects us, we also want to understand how social media is affecting and the attention that you're getting.
Explore that a little bit more because that is an
Sure.
intriguing aspect. The
Yeah.
attention that women getting. Give
Yeah.
me an example.
Example would be like I think a lot of women as long as they social media, especially Instagram, like like any man into the DMs, right? Doesn't matter who you are. And when a woman have like a celebrity or a sultan from Dubai or Arabia, right, slide into the DMs, what does that change? It changes their expectation of what kind of man they can get, right? And if let's say the modern don't understand that, well, guess what? Essentially, you are unfortunately, it depends how you did. You are competing with like most of the population of them in the world who has Instagram, not just your local men that is in
Sure.
your vicinity,
Sure.
right? And a lot of women, once they get this attention, they're good.
Interesting.
You see,
True, 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 true.
posting photos, up that boobs or ass, right? For
Yeah.
what? For attention, right? And
Uh,
well, while yeah, it's nice, to woman or like, but that you actually want to settle down with, right? You gotta be not delusional as men.
Also, if you once go out with such a woman really in real life, the amount of attention she is used to, she is high maintenance. And with that, I don't just mean financial. So the
Yep, high
reality,
maintenance in terms of intention as well.
absolutely,
Yep.
and often
Yeah.
incredibly insecure. That's the reason that they themselves are addicted to followers, because that's the only validation that they
Yep.
see. So there is so more hiding behind that. And
Yep.
again, all that is leading back to emotional intelligence, that we actually
Mhm.
understand what drives us, what are our insecurities, our core beliefs, which are often warped from childhood. And it is it's a huge, again, coming back to your 18 months of reboot after pornography. The pornography is the tip of the iceberg. There's so much
Yep.
more going on there. You
Yep.
can't just say, just don't watch pornography, then
Yep.
don't deal with all the other aspects of your
No,
life. For Christ's sake,
you can't.
this is
You
just,
can't. No,
yeah,
you it's not important. It's about becoming the man that you really want to be in
correct,
other areas of your life, right? And
correct.
that's what we break it up to. We break it up to into reboot capitals,
Nice,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, like you don't want to put
nice.
all of your eggs in one basket. You want to diversify.
Diversify, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, with well, what we call like the social reboot capital, it's like dating portion of it. That's why we even have a dating reboot program
Hmm,
that we also help men, either they're single or divorced or widow, right? To help them to find real intimacy again, right?
beautiful.
Or to help them to improve their self-confidence
Yeah,
and skills with women,
yeah.
and where you actually not just um there's also a lot of men, unfortunately, they settle, right, with women they're not supposed to settle with. So, that's also that thing, right?
Rebel, come on, how dare you say that? The marriage is a holy thing that she broken. Yeah, that's it. Yes, I don't even know the right it is. And this is so true. And unfortunately, things are changing. And I've been a wild boy when I was a younger man. Then I met my wife and I decided, no, I will be 100% faithful. So therefore, I
Good.
now was in this marriage that initially was very much sexually driven and we were very compatible then. But then children
Good.
came and other things came. And at the end of 30 years, we had become very different beings and we
Yeah.
were essentially incompatible.
Yeah.
Yet I making any difficult call like a divorce, separation
Yeah.
was for me the ultimate failure in my
Mm.
own beliefs. So these
Yeah.
are all things that are happening in the background. With
Yeah.
hindsight, should I have had more meaningful time with my wife? Absolutely. There are many things where I fell short in her needs and versus she in mine, but we never really talked about them. We were never aware of
Mm.
our needs. So it is
Mm.
so difficult with hindsight. There is no blame in our divorce. It's just maybe regret and a degree of that we never actually
Yeah.
got our shit together with regards to
Yeah.
becoming the being that we deserve to be, and then see if our relationship maybe would have been different. But we were, it is emotional. I get it over the last 2 years
Mm-hmm.
was is such an exponential kind of development. And I think that
Yeah.
is what is waiting for you guys out there.
Yeah.
If you are feeling pornography is really the issue and you want to deal with it, then you are at the start of this exponential growth that is waiting
Yep.
for you because you're changing into a very different version of yourself. If you finally allow all those obstacles that you've put in your own way, that you
Mm-hmm.
actually move them aside and literally take a jackhammer to those obstacles and say, now, okay, why am I such a bitter person or such an angry person or such a whatever the emotions that are underlying there? What is actually going on? And that is beautiful. So therefore, yes, the reboot is not just a neurochemical reset where we wait for certain particles in our brains calm down or dopamine levels to reset to a different thermostat kind of setting, but it is also your growth. And trauma happens in layers and growth happens in layers. You can't just
Yep.
expect that you do all of those things tomorrow. Hey, I've got
No.
time between 3 and 6. Let's do it all. Nope. Nice try.
It doesn't
Nice.
happen that way. You can't rush it, man.
I would love
You
to.
can't
I
rush
would.
it.
But
I
there's so.
know. And I grieve. I also lost. I lost my. I was really young. I was only years old. He was 5, right?
Mm,
So and that's something that I think like I was suffering from like prolonged grief, trauma. And honestly, there's still after 35 years of being alive, right? And I'm still processing it until today,
yeah.
right? And which that's why like it is a beauty of like what we do with that um it ends with like quitting porn, you
Yeah.
know. It would grow you too, and that's why we have all these different we have like Dr. Rankin, Dr. Eastman, helping with our clients with like some of the deeper issues. If
Mm,
they want to find the root cause, we can help them find the root causes too,
nice.
right? But it
Nice.
does take some time, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
I've,
can control the habits of it,
mm,
and then the behavior
yep.
before you even like dig through all of the trauma or all of the what you will call the root causes. I think
Beautiful.
another misconception a lot of have is that they keep thinking they have to let go of all these trauma before they quit porn.
I see.
So that's also another limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
So
Is there, I mean, addiction, you upon the importance of hiding it for the addict. Now, if this addict is in a relationship, is there a way that they can keep hiding it, or do successful people who successfully beat their addiction and change into a different life of intimacy and real interactions?
sure.
Do people do that typically with the help of their partner.
Not necessarily. It's not a necessity for the partner,
Mm,
to be involved. We rather work the men directly themselves rather
right.
than just involving their partner, because the last thing that any man that you want to have in terms of a relationship is for your wife or your girlfriend to be your mom.
Ha, ha,
You don't
ha.
want that.
I like that. Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah.
You know, yeah, you don't, you said earlier, right? Like you leader of your own life
Mm,
because it's your problem to deal with. It's not her problem, right?
nice.
If you're
Nice.
depending on your wife to call you out, if you're waiting for her and then like, well, guess what? You're taking responsibility, man. So, and that
Oh,
will
I like
change
that.
sexual dynamics between you and your wife.
Yeah.
Like it completely would. That every single time you share too much with her, well, guess what? You're triggering her, right?
Mm,
Of her betrayal trauma. For those who
mm.
actually, betrayed, right? A partner watching porn or
Nice.
acting out or whatever the case.
Nice. Nice.
So,
Oh, this is a very good insight there. Because immediately, if you sort of think of that model, there would be actually making amends and being open and admitting that there is a problem there and then speaking it out. Hey, I'm Stefan, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a porn addict.
mhm.
And so there's pitfall of that
Yep,
actually might
yep,
in this particular setting.
yep. Well, or in a different setting where, so there's there's actually three different ones, right? One is that your wife has no idea that you actually have any problems with this at
Mm,
all. You never shared. And when you are seeking out for help for to get this problem right, you know, like if it up your wife's world and reality, for you to be honest with her,
yeah,
bro, just ask yourself, is that worth it? Or
correct.
is it better for you to actually solve the problem?
Yeah.
Then you present it to her that, hey, by the way, I just want to share with you. After you solve the problem, after you reboot it, then only you open up to her. Which one is more valuable for you in your life? It's not about hiding or like, as long as you're not hiding from yourself. That's why having a community with like-minded men who
Mm,
you are safe, everything, there's you're not gonna be judged, and you're also not gonna actually trigger anyone,
mm,
right? Because we're here to actually talk about it in help you to collect
sure.
data. It's about collecting data, right?
Mm,
And another scenario is like a wife caught you,
mm,
right? And you have actually show that you're making progress to even regain her trust. Okay.
mm, mm,
Unfortunately, yeah, you do share,
mm,
to an extent. You can actually show her with,
mm,
actions to
mm,
regain that trust. Well, in that case, unfortunately, you do have to be open and honest with your wife,
mm,
right? Um, but at the same time, you also have to also make sure that have right boundaries, share what not to share.
mm,
At the end of the day, you still have to also lead your wife
mm.
to the point that you don't have to share or overshare, you know, to the detriment relationship.
It's beautiful. That's a
Yeah.
really, really important point that you're making there. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. And then is the wife kind of know, but they do everything,
Yeah.
right? Well, tell her you're going through a coaching program, for men's group. You have to share specifically like what it is for,
Nice.
you know. Once you transformation, they would notice. They
Sure.
would ask, "Hey, what happened to you? Something about you." Yeah. And they would want to be intimate with you more because they're more attracted to you because you are a leader of your own words,
Mm,
your own life. So,
I love that. And
mhm.
again, it's leadership that essentially many women look for and
Yes.
want in their life, but you can only lead if it is not a false bravado, if it's not the kind of macho bullshit, but if it is
Yeah.
actually backed by actions, backed by integrity, backed
Yeah.
by those kind of things. But that it will take time.
It
It will
will
be,
take time.
it's a,
Yeah.
such a systematic approach. It's very
Yeah.
difficult for you to reinvent the wheel because you will pick up something If you just read a self-help book, you will pick up something, will focus on that, completely disregarding all the other things that are part and
Yeah.
parcel of it, because you take them for granted. Oh yeah, I need to actually healthy. Yeah, yeah. I'll you focus on one thing, and it is such a pitfall.
Yes.
Books, they're great, but I think
Yeah.
being together with an accountability partner or many partners in the case of a group is
Yep.
such a powerful way of moving, of really speeding up reboot. It
Yep.
is such a great way of doing that. If you don't have accountability partners, if you don't have a coach, then you can still do it, but it will take you about 10 times as long. And the chance of you failing and getting distracted by life is so much more likely, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's to be by procrastination
Hmm.
or perfectionism, right?
Yep. Oh,
And
that.
yeah, yeah, like there are two parts of that. And also another thing I do want to emphasize, it's vulnerability, how to be vulnerable. It's
Hmm.
actually a really important part of the positive masculinity too, right?
Yep.
Like it's not about being emotional, but it's about learning how to share your vulnerable side of you with your woman,
Yep.
right? In a way that you're still leading.
Exactly. And that is the balance. The thing is that she looks at you because she is overwhelmed herself and you are
Yeah.
vulnerable in a similar time. She says, stop being such a puppy, stop behaving like a puppy and like things like that. And
Yeah.
that
Stop
is
apologizing.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it is hard. Now, boys, I know you guys there. If you actually want to include your partner and you say, hey, look, let's go out for dinner. Where shall we go? And she says, I don't know, but you make it up. Okay, that's fine. Let's go Mexican. Oh, no, I don't like Mexican. What about Thai? No, I don't like Thai. So it's hard to be a leader, okay?
Yeah.
But there must be ways. And there are. You figured
Yeah.
so far, you out what didn't work. So it's great. Thomas Edison, that 2000 ways
Yeah.
how not to create a light bulb. Exactly the same thing, you and your relationship, if it is existing, or with you to find a new relationship. Remember, I mean, what's the
Yeah.
chance? You expect to play once lotto and expect the top prize to win? Well, it's probably unlikely, isn't it? So you're dating
Yeah.
one woman or have married one woman, and it turned out
Mhm.
to be a disaster with hindsight. Well, did
Mhm.
you really find the top prize? Or maybe do you need to work a little bit on it? And maybe now is a far better chance of you to succeeding. Maybe in a less
Yep.
gamble way, but more in a more predictable way, because you are developing those qualities that women naturally find themselves being attracted to. The humor, the confidence,
Yep.
there are certain
Oh yeah.
themes in successful men that can analyze and then
Mhm.
try to apply in our daily lives.
Yep.
And I think that is of growing,
Mhm.
of not focusing on the negative like the porn addiction or
Mhm.
whatever the negativity is, but to actually say,
Yep.
okay, 1% or 2% or 3% today, I will focus on the positive. What would be my ideal day? What would be my ideal partner? What would be my ideal weight? What would
Yep.
be my ideal job? Again,
Yep.
why have this one ideal for one thing and take action, three little
Yep.
actions. And you're probably doing things, isn't it?
Mhm.
Small
Exactly.
steps, but consistent in the right direction.
Progress over perfection. I think that's one thing that we
Yeah,
always drill into our
yeah,
clients, and
yeah,
our mentees, and it's it, right? It's
yeah.
one thing to learn and mimic, but it's
Correct.
another thing to like transform the mimicry
Is it?
in your own art mastery, right? So because everyone is different, you gotta live your life. You gotta live your life. And we always tell our clients, at the end of the day, they are their own experts, the
Hmm.
best experts. No one can tell them, you know, how to live their life or what's the best way to live their life,
Hmm.
right? And we're here literally as a guide, as a signpost. And hey, you're on now, like hey, you might want to consider that, right? And this is why our program works so well,
Hmm.
uh, and why because it's database is based on data,
Mm.
like you said earlier, when it comes to mate, right? Finding someone long term or even short term, whatever that is that your goal is, in terms of if you actually yourself out there and having option, how are you supposed to actually choose from abundance?
Mm.
Chances
Mm.
are easy for to choose from scarcity, especially those men who are addicted to porn.
Okay.
you know yeah, and because it's
Oh,
so comfortable, right? You literally like onto the one that actually accept you, right? But
mm.
you don't see all of the red flags.
I like that. I like that a
you
lot.
know
Oh,
yeah.
it's beautiful, GT. I mean, this is actually a very, very insightful interview. There were many a times when my mind was going somewhere, and I had to actually literally hold myself back here. Hey, damn, I've got a job to interview this fantastic man. When it actually made me reflect and made me feel and made me think and made me so there were a lot of very good points you have made, and it just shows that I would have certainly not considered myself a porn addict, but there are so many points that you've raised which are beyond the porn addiction, which are about leadership and about being the best version of yourself.
Mhm.
So it is whatever has led you to this interview. I think there is huge amounts to be gained in general terms, but obviously many men will have listened or were intrigued by the porn addiction and the honesty of about it. For
Yeah.
example, I mean, my YouTube videos are there's advertisement linked to it, there's monetization attached. In reality, because the sheer fact that we've used the word porn, it won't be monetized as in this way. So it is
Sure.
bizarre how algorithms are upset about that. In the same token, we talk
I
about
know.
billions and billions of dollars of actually revenue that is coming in. It's just
Oh yeah,
crazy when it comes to
hundreds of
push.
billions.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
know. No,
yeah,
it's
that's the point of the whole world. It's in billions. So probably trillions. If I wouldn't even be if it is,
no, you're
honestly.
very right. You're very right.
Yeah,
Oh
man.
man, Chiti, tell us more about you and about your brand. Where
Mhm.
can find you when they want to seek help, especially when they want to become serious about changing their lives with a mentorship program?
Yeah. Thank you, yeah, for asking that. Way that you find us, right? If you're not ready yet, you can at least just check out our podcast, YouTube, we're everywhere, right? Just search for Porn Reboot, right? Porn Reboot podcast or Porn Reboot YouTube channel. With actually recently just 100K subscribers. We're really thankful, for the support, those who have subscribed. And it's like you said, actually, echoing what you said, it's pretty hard with the algorithm, to even achieve the what we use, right, in our words.
Yeah.
And second, it's who are actually serious about taking action and really want to learn more about how to work with us directly in a professional level. I'll send out the link to my too,
Mm.
for your actually directly, contact me in the Calendly schedule link. They can reach out to me directly. Or if they just want to like chat, right? Getting on, or even,
Mm.
they wanted me, anonymously. We do a lot of those, right? Because of the privacy, right? We do your privacy a priority, right? So we work with a lot of people from different walks of life.
Mm.
Doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. Um, we're here to actually with you as a human.
Mm.
So, and yeah, and me up
Mm.
on Instagram, Facebook. I'll share you, Stefan. So
And it's very, very unlikely that you will be connected to a course in India or to an AI-driven algorithm. I think GT has proven himself very much today as a man of integrity, as a man of humility. I mean, here you are, you have got your own history with regards to porn addiction, and you have essentially turned your own life around. So GT and JK and other men who are out there as positive role models say, hey, we have been there. We have actually lived your life and we
mhm.
have found ways that work to turn our lives around and have become better men, different men who shying away from a difficult but meaningful discussion. Now, these are few men in the world because there's so much leadership involved there. And it's beautiful to see that. So GT, I'm incredibly grateful that you're doing the work that you're doing, because it's certainly much needed out there. Just simply from confusion of masculinity, that is there. For me, when I was a young man, it was quite clear, rightly or wrongly, what a man was, and it just the nuances differed a bit to make it more or less toxic or more or less strong as a masculine man.
Yeah.
But nowadays there's such a confusion. I don't my sons, which are in their early 20s. It's a very hard world for them to navigate and
Yeah.
find their way.
Yeah.
So let's actually become the models that maybe we never had,
Yeah.
and be the men who can make a difference, certainly within ourselves, in our own internal environment, where there's less shame and guilt, but actually a sense of pride, a sense of self-worth, a sense of radical self-compassion, an understanding. That is beautiful, and that will reduce your levels of stress tremendously without anything changing to your environment. But with you being a different version, you can become a different leader, and there will be ripple effects on your immediate family, on your relationship. For you at work, you will present yourself in a different way. Financially, things will change because you actually show leadership qualities that subconsciously other people are recognizing, and suddenly offers appear that you never even thought about. And you think, what the hell is happening? And there is no magic woo-woo. It's just the part of you is coming out, the part that deserves to be leading and showing, and that's so powerful. I'm incredibly grateful, GT. Thank you so much for helping men to do this work out there. This was an amazing interview today.
Thank you. Thank you for your
That's
time.
brilliant.
Thank you for having me here.
Cool. And you guys out there, look after yourself and live with intention. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up.